Hello, everybody, and welcome to Solutions with Aquarius Rising Africa. I'm just trying to find my way around here. Why? Because I am alone today. Brice couldn't make it at quite a late stage. She's had something come up. So I am making it all on my own because I was all dressed up and ready to go and decided I would wing it all on my own anyway. So I'm very happy to see you guys here, and I hope that you've had a wonderful, wonderful, and merry, 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 merry Christmas and still enjoying the holidays because it's obviously still holiday season. Gosh, sorry, I just have a bit of a schnozzy nose here, so excuse me. But anyway, I'd love to see how you guys are. Hello, Jessica. It's good afternoon or almost evening. Yeah, it's 5:30 in the evening, but always lovely to see you. And I don't know what I've pressed here. Just hang on. Okay, good. I pressed something, but now I unpressed it. So now I'm back to being the way I was. Thank you, Jessica. You're so lovely. And I want to just say, before I even forget, for those of you who joined our live Zoom with Caleb the other night on Christmas Eve, or for me it was Christmas Eve, for you it was the morning of the 24th. It was really, really amazing. We're going to be doing it again this week on Sunday. So it'll be New Year's Eve or New 31st, Old Year's Day. For me, it's New Year's Eve. So for those of you who want to join, that would be absolutely amazing. But I will let you know. We're also going to be working through Solutions, which is this channel. This is the healing channel. So, obviously, I'm really trying to build this channel as well. Aquarius Rising Africa is really for exposing the underbelly of the world. So we expose all the rough and tough stuff, as you guys all know, for those of you who are joining. A dragonfly, no, listen, don't worry. You guys are going to be getting your sun back soon. Our sun back, right? We in Africa own the sun. So I was trying to tell you all that. But and I know when I see Brice, them and everyone and all dressed up in flipping summer clothes, and I'm like scarved up and what have you, it's crazy. So yeah, I'm enjoying the sun while I can, even though it's quite chilly today. The wind is blowing gale force, knocks everything flying. But anyway, lovely to see you guys. Let me know where you're from. Hello, Gail, Dragonfly, Auntie Well. I love the names you guys have on your YouTube channels, I have to tell you. Lisa, always so good to see you guys. Anyway, so today I'm actually talking about the yoga yamas and the niyamas. Now, I just love this kind of stuff because, when we start looking at these teachings, we see how similar they are, how all the scriptures are actually so similar, right? All of them are similar. And it really is just such a beautiful way of living your life. And so I've gone through quite a few of them, and I'll just kind of refresh my memory so I can give it to you guys again. But really, it is beautiful. But I'm just gonna, before I go further, I'm just gonna read you this. In the Yoga Sutras, a collection of texts written between the 2nd century BCE and the 5th century BCE, yoga goes back to more than 5,000 years ago, right? Philosophers outlined an 8-limbed, basically, what are the 8 limbs of yoga? So it's the 8 limbs of yoga, step-by-step path for purifying the body and the mind. The ultimate goal is to help practitioners cultivate a steady mind, leading to calm bliss. The first 2 stops of the path are ethical principles that are supposed to guide how we relate to other people and how we take care of ourselves. They're called the Yamas, which is the social restraints, basically for those around us, right? And the Niyamas, which is self-discipline. So they really are beautiful. I'm actually going to go through the Niyamas first because in my opinion, when we take care of ourselves first, our person, this vehicle that is your beautiful body, your mind, your spirit, all these things, then it's automatic. You're going to be projecting that in your social environment as well. So I'm going to talk about the Niyamas first, the 5 Niyamas, which is, I don't know, I just find them so beautiful. So the Niyamas are basically the principles that we apply to ourselves. Pat, I'm going to say goodbye to you. Anyone, guys, here I go again. Anyone who talks about yoga being demonic has not understood anything. And I've asked people so often on this channel, I am a non-denomination channel, and I invite everyone who's an amazing human being and who's been through a lot in their lives to share your story, to share your life, to share what it is to be human, right? For me, that's what it is. It's about being human. So when somebody is coming here and telling me nonsense like that, I'm not going to put up with it. So that's pretty much what it is. And, my point is, when you start opening your mind and we start realizing more and more, I'm going to actually read you guys something which came to me today. In fact, before I go on to this, which is very interesting, by the way. Indians have been waiting for Kalki for 3,700 years. We're talking about the different religions or faiths, if you will, that all have their own savior, right? So we're talking about the different faiths and their saviors. Indians have been waiting for Kalki for 3,700 years. Buddhists have been waiting for Maitreya for 2,600 years. The Jews have been waiting for the Messiah for 2,500 years. Christians have been waiting for Jesus for 2,000 years. Sunnah waits for Prophet Isa for 1,400 years. Muslims have been waiting for a Messiah from the line of Muhammad for 1,300 years. Shiites have been waiting for Mahdi for 1,080 years. Drushians are waiting for Hamza ibn Ali for 1,000 years. Most religions adopt the idea of a savior and state that the world will remain filled with evil until the savior comes and it fills it with goodness and righteousness. Maybe our problem on this planet is that people expect someone else to come solve their problems instead of doing it themselves. Now, I'm just saying that let's consider that. Every religion is waiting for someone to come and save them from this terrible evil that is occurring on this earth. And rest assured, everyone knows that I know how much, just in the last 3 years, I've certainly seen how much evil is committed on this planet. So rest assured, no one needs to tell me about the evil that's committed on this planet. But at the end of the day, it really is, and I keep saying this over and over again, it's about us looking within. We are the ones that are going to change the world. We are the ones that are going to bring light into these very dark places. We are the ones that when we unite and we raise ourselves up, we will then help each other to do that. And that's how we will overcome this fear. That's how Christ comes, or the Holy Spirit enters, is through us when we are open and allowing it. Yeah, I agree, Auntie Well. It's not even about defending. And yes, there are certainly times where I feel that, but it's definitely about just, for me, it's creating understanding. It's about being aware of what is going on. And really, if you don't like what we do here, then please move on. Anyway, So, and it's interesting because not too many weeks ago, I was doing the 4 agreements with Catherine Edwards as well, which is similar, and that's coming from Mexicans. Gosh, I can't remember the tribe anymore, but it's right up there, right? Anyway, okay, so let's talk about the 5 Niyamas. The first one is called Saucha, right? Saucha is purity and cleanliness. Cleanliness is next to godliness, right? That's how the saying goes. Order, precision, and purity help us towards our highest potential. One thing I know from when I was studying yoga in India is that let me tell you, sometimes those streets are stinking, man. They are so nasty. They are so dirty. It's like, oh gosh, I can't even bear. I was like walking around with a scarf wrapped around my head and my face and everything else. But I want to tell you, there's one thing about the Indian people. They are unbelievably clean upon themselves as well. When you go meditating in the temples at certain times, you always have to wash yourself. And, especially your face, your hands, your feet, blah, 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 all of that. So yoga reminds us that our true self already exists and inherently lives in us. Okay? Our task as a yogi is to strip away the outer layers that obscure our true nature. Many yogic techniques are practices to cleanse ourselves inside and out. Relatedly, the cleaner and purer our food is, the easier our task is as well. And you'll see when we do yogic stuff as well, there's also the different types of foods, and you look at the body, the different types of bodies and stuff. But that we'll talk about another day. So really the first one of the Niyamas, which is looking at yourself, is making sure that you are pure and clean, because cleanliness is next to godliness. So when you are eating clean food, you're taking care of your body. I always say food is your medicine. When you are looking within at your own obstacles within yourself, then you are purifying your mind, you're purifying your soul, you're purifying that which is you, right? Our task as a yogi is to strip away the outer layers that obscure our true nature. In other words, the walls that we place around ourselves, the fears that we have around ourselves, the obstacles that we place around ourselves. All of these things are what actually stops us from moving forward and being free and beautiful human beings. Because once you have that freedom within you, once you have that sense of godliness within you, there's nothing that you fear anymore. And there is absolutely no need to put the walls and things or to have the outer layers around you. So that's the first one, which is called Saucha, purity and cleanliness, right? Number 2 is Santosa. Okay, it depends how you want to actually pronounce that. And that is called, and that means contentment, right? To be content is to accept and enjoy the reality as it is. This is why when we look at so many of the Indian yogis that have now become saints, so to speak, they are absolutely not perturbed by anything. One of the most beautiful Indian saints, if you can call him that I have studied. Actually, when I was studying, I was in a place called Tiruvannamalai in South India, right? And there was Ramana Maharshi. That was his ashram was there. I wasn't studying in his ashram now, but in the town of Tiruvannamalai, they were very much, Ramana Maharshi was there. The whole story about him goes, when he was 8 years old, he had a dream that he needed to be on this mountain. And this mountain, gosh, I climbed it now. I've got to think of the name of it again. I'll think of it just now. Very sacred mountain, absolutely beautiful. The feet of Shiva and everything would be on top there. And he had a dream. So the boy of 8 years old, he walked there, right? And he just walked and walked. And he sat and he came to the temple and he meditated. Rats were crawling all over him, nibbling at him. He was in such a state of samadhi Samadhi is another word for bliss, right? So once you're in a state of that bliss, the world around you doesn't even exist really. You are just so connected to that beautiful, the God, the acceptance, the contentment with what is. Like if you're in a prison cell, right? Let's say you've committed murder, or let's say you've been falsely accused of a crime and you're sitting in a prison cell, and God knows that happens many times. It is what it is, and nothing or no one can get you out. You move into that state of contentment, of accepting that which is. The minute you fight it and go, I shouldn't be here, life is so unfair, blah, 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 and you have this complete hissy fit about life, right? That's when you create the friction. And when you create that friction, then life goes haywire. But when you're in that state of contentment and accept the reality, the current reality of what is, only then can you change it, because you've moved into acceptance, because everything in life has a lesson. Every single thing in life has a lesson. So when there's a lesson, when you accept that there is so much for me to gain through this experience, right? Whatever that might be. And you won't know that until you reach that place of contentment and full acceptance. And let's say through prayer, meditation, whatever it is, journaling, whatever it is that you do, all of the above probably would be a good thing. Then God speaks to you in such a beautiful way. And then you go, aha, that's what it is. And then from that place, you then create the change. So we can certainly use our creative abilities to change and develop situations, yet doing so from a place of contentment greatly enhances our effectiveness. So when you have accepted what is, you then set about changing your world. And from that place, you have a much better chance of well-being and being effective, right? If there's any questions, I'd love for you guys to ask. You can put them in the comments or whatever. It would be cool. Number 3, tapas. I love tapas. Heat, fire, discipline, willpower, all very helpful. Yeah. So we're talking more action, right? Tapas means wanting something or wanting to achieve something more than something else. In other words, I always like to say, when you're so sick and tired of being sick and tired, when you're sick and tired of being lazy, when you're sick and tired of being hurt, when you're sick and tired of negativity around you, when you're sick and tired of being sloppy, when you're sick and tired of just not even being participating in the world that you know you can be, that's when you create that tapas, that fire, right? It's the inner fire, that agni as well. The word we also use is agni, that agni within. It's like striking that match, and you go, yes, today my fire is lit. And you get up from that place and you decide to move. You decide to act. You decide to move in a direction that you feel you want to be moving into. Giving your best effort, right? Especially when we don't like it. Right? Discipline is so important. Discipline, you see, when we talk about discipline of the mind, we then discipline our thoughts. And discipline is not something, I mean, I think so many people are confused about discipline. It's like a teacher whacking you on the backside and telling you, you have to do this, you have to do that. Discipline is something really, what we're talking about here, it's something you decide for yourself. I always like to say, don't half-ass anything or half-ass anything, as you Americans say. Always use your full ass, right? So when you decide that change is here, when you decide you want to change, when you decide that you want to actually move in a different direction, it's like the fire inside of you lights up. You get that heat, you get that power, you get that desire and the willingness to act, and then change occurs. So that would be tapas, when you're really feeling like, yes, I want to do that, right? Then number 4 is svadhyaya, right? Which is self-study. So We develop an ever deeper understanding of ourselves through self-study or self-inquiry, such as meditation, mindfulness, therapy, study, and most importantly, also the scriptures, but of course, the application of the scriptures. So it's one thing learning things in an intellectual way, right? Where you are just talking and talking and talking and learning and learning and learning and going through and listening and listening and listening. I mean, that can get like really boring and really irritating. But really, when you start applying the teachings, that's when, I mean, if you guys are watching Caleb Jade, it's like he says, the Bible came alive for him. Now, for me, what that means in my life is the minute you start applying the teachings of Christ, or you start applying the teachings of the yogic scriptures. And incidentally, I just want to say as well, when you're looking at the 10 commandments, they're actually coming from the ancient yoga scriptures, because yoga scriptures had those 10 commandments first, by the way. So when you're looking at the ancient scriptures, for example, you do self-study. In other words, you'll sit and you recognize, I've got a temper, or I've got anger issues, right? That would be step one, where you're realizing that this is not somebody else doing it to me, right? I'm the one with the anger issues. I'm the one who's limiting my own beliefs. I'm the one who's actually standing in my own way. And when we accept that, then we can start applying the teachings differently. Then we can start saying, okay, well, maybe I need therapy to deal with my anger issues. Now you're taking a step forward in the right direction, right? Meditation, mindfulness. When we talk about mindfulness, it's really acting in a way that you've thought about things. You're not just reacting. You're not just being this reactive person most of the time. You are actually being mindful and conscious about what you're saying, what you're eating, what you're doing, how you're doing it. And in that way, are you not only more peaceful for yourself, but also those around you. So your kids, your husband, your wife, your family, your work colleagues, whatever, your animals, whatever it might be, will start benefiting from all of this. So it really is the application of the scriptures and the teachings that reveals our truth. The truth sets us free, that's what Jesus says, and the truth shall set you free. So once you understand the truth about yourself, and it's very often the things we don't like to see about ourselves, right, that are hiding. It's like what I call the blind spots. So often we're going to find things that we don't like about ourselves. And when we actually start looking at those things that we don't like about ourselves, and we kind of start saying, well, okay, I do have anger issues. I am ridiculously stubborn. I mean, that I can tell you, all of the above for me. Anger, oh my goodness, as a kid, I was very, very frustrated. And I just reacted. And still to this day, there'll be certain things that I just, boom, I react to. But thankfully, I'm able to just kind of step back a little bit and then able to start recognizing my reactions as opposed to my, it's like that fight or flight syndrome, right? So we're either going to fight or we shut down and we become stubborn. That was me, becoming ridiculously stubborn and or just retaliating. And once I recognized that about myself, I could then start applying the teachings differently. I could then start seeing the benefit of being more in my truth, because that really is stepping more into your truth, about apologizing when I need to, stepping back when I need to, not reacting as easily. These are all things about svadhyaya. It's called svadhyaya, which is self-study. So when you start sitting with yourself, when you start studying with studying your own person inside and out, you then start developing a much deeper relationship with yourself, which is a beautiful thing. And only when you've actually developed a relationship with yourself can you then actually start having a relationship with those around you as well. Because then you can start becoming more forgiving of those around you as well. You start realizing everyone has the same issues that we're dealing with, just in our own way. And yeah, I'm looking at this, Jessica. My age has definitely affected my self-discovery. The more I age, the better I understand. Absolutely. This is why I say, please, I don't ever want to be 25 again. No. Well, if I knew what I know now, then I probably would want to be 25 again, because there would definitely be things I would do differently. That's for sure. Life would be a much different walk in the park for me. Anyway, okay. So that's number 4. Number 5 is Ishvara Pranidhana. Ishvara Pranidhana. Okay. Giving our identity to God. This has got to be my favorite. You know, I don't know if you guys know Rumi at all. I love Rumi. Rumi is absolutely my guy. I got to tell you. Rumi says, I searched for God and I found only myself. I searched for myself and I found only God. Now, I mean, that is really powerful if we think about what that truly means, because we are all created from the essence of God. God has created us all in God's image, right? So to understand, I'm giving my identity to God. This guideline, done when fully realized, is sufficient for reaching samadhi, which is enlightenment. In other words, full understanding. In the yoga, or in the chakra system, we then talk about the crown chakra, which is symbolized by the 1,000-petal lotus, right? So in other words, every petal is now opened in your journey on your way up, and you understand things completely differently. You're then able to receive God's voice in every cell of your being. So God will speak, literally, let's say, talk about the heavenlies being up there. God then speaks, and everything is integrated into every cell of your body. And that's why I always say God lives within each and every one of us, in our cells, in our being. And when we realize that, we then open up to the fact that we are God. And no, I'm not saying that we are now going to go and compete with God and try and overthrow God to get God's throne the way that the Lucy's do. Not at all. When you get to that point, you realize it's such a humbling thing. It's such a beautiful, humbling experience to know that I am created from God. And then I listen. I listen to the voice of God, and I listen for that prompting. Where do I go from here? Where do I go next? I listen, basically, that I listen to the fact that God speaks to me and through me. And through me, I therefore then am able to do God's work, which is amazing, right? When we give our identity to God, we receive the identity of God. When we realize we are God, right? Divine and perfect. That is when full yoga is achieved. So you then understand we are created from that essence, and so is everyone else. Some people have realized that, and others have not realized that. And obviously, the more ridiculously nasty things people do, that means they have not realized that yet. They might think it, right? But it's one thing thinking it, and it's another thing understanding and integrating it. So when you think it, it still is only a mental process. That's how when people come to you or come to me with this and holding that and Bible verses and just hurling that, it's demonic, it's whatever, I'm going, stop right there, right? Because you haven't integrated the teachings of Christ yet. Because when you have, you will understand that that is not Jesus Christ's way. Most definitely not. Neither is it any wise person's way. We then learn to be humble. We then learn to look at the beauty in everything. I always say some people see the devil in everything. I see God in everything. Even in the most negative times, I will see God. I will ask God, what do I need to see? What do I need to hear? What do I need to understand through this experience? And when you come from that place, that's when suddenly things start changing, and then you start seeing a very different way of being. And okay, so those are the 5 Niyamas, basically the 5 principles that you want to work with in terms of yourself. So that's how you apply these scriptures to yourself. Okay, and now let's look at the 5 Yamas. Okay, the 5 Yamas, basically, these are the 5 principles that are mostly about our behavior towards others. And that's why I say I always like to do the Niyamas first, because the Niyama is all about yourself. So when you've taken the time to do the self-study, to do the reflection on yourself, then it's easy to apply the Yamas, in other words, to those around you, right? The first one is ahimsa. You guys must have heard me speak about ahimsa before. Ahimsa is non-violence, or doing as little harm as possible. So we all do some harm to others in our lives. Absolutely. There's no question around that. There's definitely times we've hurt animals, we've hurt each other, we've hurt our kids, we've hurt our parents, right? I don't believe anyone on this planet has ever not harmed others, maybe even unintentionally. But we are conscious, in other words, mindful about how we act towards others, what we do to others, etc. Right? So we all do some harm to others in our lives, whether it's a cow or kale. So whether you eat a cow, whether you eat a piece of kale, you're still taking a life, right? But it's about doing the best to be loving. It's about doing our best to be loving and compassionate. So some of us choose, especially the yogis, like you're going to see, there's a lot of, they do not eat animal products. Although when I was in India, a lot of them will have their own cows. I mean, cows are revered beautifully in India. They are seen as the nurturers of the nation because of the milk, right? So they'll have their own cow. They'll go and they'll milk their own cow. They'll go and get their own products. It's something like we did on the farm. It was actually quite amazing, That's a very different way of getting dairy products than what we do in our supermarkets, right? Which is all factory farmed. And I mean, it's just so cruel and just so obscene, right? So it's about doing the best we can to be compassionate. So many are not eating animals, but others are trying to be compassionate and caring in other ways. Maybe you care for the elderly. Maybe you care for the sick. Maybe you care for kids. Maybe you care for animals. That is really what it is. But ahimsa is such an interesting topic as well. I love talking about ahimsa because, it starts with, non-violence starts with what's going on in your own mind. Non-violence, it really starts with the thoughts of your own mind. So the would have, should have, why didn't I have, if only I had, I'm so stupid, I'm so nonsensical, I'm so ridiculous, why did I do it? Those are all sowing seeds of violence, right? Those thoughts are all sowing seeds of violence. So when we can get rid of those, that violence towards ourselves, because that is really starting violence towards ourselves. And when we have those violent thoughts in our own mind, of course, we're going to be judgmental towards others. Why did you do this? Why didn't you do that? If you didn't that. That's when it starts. So it starts with learning how to be loving towards yourself, right? Forgiving yourself, understanding yourself, doing the self-study, and then understanding why you feel angry and frustrated or depressed or whatever that might be. And then the whole ahimsa thing can start setting in, right? So, it's actually a good one for you guys just to look at. That's what I always say, when I teach this in my classes. It's about how are you practicing ahimsa, right? Think about how you are practicing ahimsa, because it's very good for you to be able to realize these things about yourself. And how can you practice ahimsa, right? What can you do to practice ahimsa or nonviolence? Okay, so number 2 is satya, all right, which is truthfulness or honesty. This concept is clear. It's very easy to say you've got to be truthful and honest to others, right? But it takes courage. We all know that it takes a lot of courage, and you're right, Tammy. Things takes a lot. It takes a lot of discipline as well. It is, and that's why often, with my students, whether you're studying with me or whether you are doing yoga with me, I really highly recommend that you take your morning time. Because when you start taking that half an hour or that hour in the morning that I call your power hour, right? That's when you then start disciplining yourself to do these things. And soon you realize this discipline is not a punishment at all, because the word discipline seems to be synonymous with someone punishing you or telling you what to do or trying to restrict you in whatever way. So you then realize, wow, you start seeing the benefit of these things. And then you actually want to do more. You want to do more of that because you realize how good it is for you. And my cat is sitting out there stalking the doves. She's very good. I've had to take 2 birds away from her. Anyway, so yeah, truthfulness. Sorry, as I was going, but it takes courage to honor this yama for sure. Can we be truly honest, even if it is uncomfortable, especially if we are delivering information that is not welcome? Yared, in this yama, I say it's not what you say, but how you say it. And that again, I mean, my reactive mouth sometimes, definitely, I have fallen short in this yama many, many times. I'm a great believer in being true, A, to myself, and B, to those around you. And do I do it all the time? Probably not, but it really is about how do you deliver the truth. If someone has got bad breath, for example, and they hovering around you all day long, do you go, oh my gosh, your breath, just get away from whatever, and go and run around and tell everyone in the office that this person does never brush their teeth or what have you, right? Not at all. You might say to them, listen, it's difficult for me to say this to you, but I don't really think I think you might have something wrong in your gums or whatever the case might be. It's not easy to do something like that, but it is really to the benefit of another. And I say this because I've needed to do that to someone once. And it was not easy, but I'll tell you something, that person was incredibly grateful, because they did go to the dentist and there was a big problem with their tooth, so which they were actually unaware of. So that's why I'm saying it's not what you say, but it's how you say it. And applying ahimsa, you see, and applying the nonviolence, the kindness, the compassion, is what absolutely gets you the results. So when you're actually being truthful, but you're being compassionate at the same time, truthfulness with kindness and caring about being honest, but saying it artfully. There's an art to that, which is really, really very cool. Satya is often an act of courage and generosity. So absolutely, you're being courageous by facing that truth. And it's a generous way of helping someone else when they might not know it as well. Yeah, Tammy, especially getting control of your thoughts. It says in the Bible to take every thought captive and check if it lines up with the will of. Exactly. You see, exactly. It's so, so true. So when you are listening to your thoughts, and when your thoughts are mean and nasty and full of crap, and all of our thoughts are like that at some point, we have to know that is not in alignment with God's will. So then we need to backtrack and say, okay, how do I do this differently? We pray then, pray for me. And I'll just say, God, show me the way. Show me how I need to deal with this. I'm very mad right now, God, you know that. But I don't want to be mad. So show me where I am falling short. and let me fix that, and then let me take it in a way that is constructive and loving. So that for me is the sati is a very important one. When you're delivering uncomfortable messages in a loving and a kind way, that you aren't being mean. And I love that, what you were saying. Hello, wild Aussie woman. Oh, and happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, beautiful. I hope to see you on the show with Kerry one of these days. I know that you're planning to come on. Okay, let's look at Astia, number 3, non-stealing. Right, so what is non-stealing? Okay, it really is about, sorry, I'm looking at myself and I'm seeing things stick up that shouldn't be sticking up. So what is it? Like, you know, I mean, this again is one of the 10 commandments in the Bible, right? Thou shalt not steal. But what does it mean? Does it just mean you don't take something from another? You don't take their pen or pencil or whatever? Or does it mean you don't take their time? You don't rob them of their time? You don't take their boyfriend or girlfriend or husband or wife or whatever, if you know that really is also something which doesn't really belong to you, that sort of thing. Again, I mean, it's a clear statement, but it's not always an easy one to follow through with. Don't take which does not belong to you, that's obvious. To earn, receive, and grow, we must give out something of value. So absolutely, it's more about giving something as well. What am I giving to the world? And do I expect back? Or do I just know that I'm going to be receiving? It might not be from this person in this moment, but do I know in my heart that I am provided for? There is enough for everyone. And I think that is such an important thing. So give more than we receive and have no expectation of how things are going to come back to you. But again, you know, let's look at the obvious ones first. Don't steal something which doesn't belong to you. Don't take that which does not belong to you, because that's also going to come back to you. For sure. Don't covet your neighbor's wife. This is what it means as well. Or husband, or whatever it is. I mean, geez, I see some stuff sometimes on the internet and I'm going, what the heck is going on there? The amount of cheating that goes on between couples. I mean, I can't even begin to wrap my head around that. I mean, I think, yeah, at some point we're all kind of there though, you know, I guess the wisdom comes with age, but still. So astia, non-stealing. Don't take that which belongs to you. Don't steal someone's time. Don't pretend to be interested in what they're doing and let them come and give you a whole big full-on presentation. Meanwhile, you're just sitting going, oh, that's someone's time. Time is valuable, right? Be honest about it. Again, then we talk about the first ahimsa as well as satya. So satya is being truthful and using it in a non-violent, compassionate way, right? So everything always gets wrapped up together in one beautiful little package at the end of the day. Okay, number 4 is brahmacharya. Okay, chariot to God, which often means a continence or abstinence of sexual behavior. Now, that's another interesting one, because I think that's also where things have gotten very wrong and very warped in the past as well. Does not mean sex is evil, in my opinion. It doesn't mean that you have to wait to be married before you can be with someone. And if that's your choice, absolutely, then let it be your choice, and that's absolutely fine. But I think what we're saying here is the idea here is to use sexual energy in a way that brings us closer to God. Sure, for procreation. Absolutely. I think it really is important, you know, obviously sex is for procreation, but it's a beautiful act that is also wonderful and connecting and very intimate between a loving couple, right? So don't just give your body away to anyone because you're feeling mad or frustrated or whatever, right? Don't just think you can sell your body and get what you want in the short term, because in many instances most people will do that. If you're looking at Caroline Mace's work, I don't know if you guys know Caroline Mace at all. Very, very amazing intuitive healer. She's a medical intuitive healer, and she talks about us being born, all of us born with 4 archetypes. She does work on the archetypes, and the 4 of the main archetypes we are all born with would be the victim, the villain, the prostitute, and the wounded child, right? Oh, sorry, the victim, the saboteur. In other words, we sabotage ourselves, the prostitute, and the wounded child. Now, let's think about what the prostitute is. Does it mean you necessarily going around selling yourself on a street corner? Not necessarily, no. But we will often sell ourselves short. We sell ourselves to the highest bidder, right? Or if we feel that man or that woman has got more value to offer because they've got more money or better body or whatever the case might be, exactly, you're prostituting yourself on some level. And really, that's all part of abstinence from those energies. So it's not about only having sex with someone that you're married to. I think when you're in a committed relationship and you are sharing resources, a home, a body, whatever, your bodies, whatever, that is a beautiful thing. And that is where it comes together, because it's a very healing act. Sex between 2 people is incredibly healing, but not when you're having it every day with someone different. Because firstly, let's also just remember that in those sexual acts of just sex is sex and for pleasure, that's where you're getting a lot of entities attaching themselves to you, by the way. Lots and lots of entities will actually enter you in that way, in your sexual chakra. So it's important that you can just be aware of that as well. Okay, then the last one, aparigraha. I'm going to say that again, aparigraha, which is a non-hoarding and moving away from greed. Oh, goodness. And this again, when we understand when we've done our shadow work, we will understand how easy it is to then give something to someone. In South Africa, this for me is a great, great lesson of giving. I've always got people asking me for money or clothes or whatever the case might be. And when I have it, I give it, I currently have 4 denim jackets in my cupboard. Now, the question is, do I really need 4 denim jackets in my cupboard? No, I do not need 4 denim jackets in my cupboard. But so why not just give it to someone who really would benefit from that, right? And enjoy it as much. I mean, your trash is someone else's treasure, right? So that's the whole thing. Hoarding, holding on to things because we don't know when we're going to get it again. If we are in that position, then we haven't understood exactly, right, that there's enough for everyone, that life is abundant. There are so many, everything in life is abundant. I'd love to give you one, Jessica. In fact, I gave my friend one the other day. So it's really amazing, right? When we can start sharing, even money. I've got one guy that always is asking me for money. And the other day he had an operation and he comes to me with these sob stories again. And I'm going, okay. And I'll give him because I know he needs it. And I mean, for me, it's like, I trust that God provides for me. And clearly he's trusting as well that God's providing for him. And if it makes me feel uncomfortable to the point that I feel I'm being extorted, no, I'm not going to do that, right? And I think, again, that's a fine line. between feeling as if you're being extorted and actually knowing that you can give, and you can give generously to the point that you can, because you know that everything is coming around, goes around, comes around. In fact, this brings in abundance, because, you know, let's think about it. When you're holding on to stuff, this is what you're doing. You're literally holding on. When you open your hand to give, at the same time, you're opening your hand to receive as well. So when you give, you're also receiving. And that's a very, very fine line that we have to learn. And it's actually quite amazing. There is enough for everyone. And there is no need to hold on to what we have, especially if we have an abundance and there is somebody who can benefit from what we have. So, you know, it's like, so how do we practice this? You know, for me, it's very important. So now that we understand these things, how do we practice this? And let's, you know, I always say, let's do this in bite-sized chunks. So you can pick one and see how it works for you. Let's pick one every day or once a week or something. I always recommend you start with ahimsa, which is non-violence to yourself. Start with changing your thoughts towards yourself. Look at yourself in the mirror and go, wow, you're actually quite gorgeous. You're actually quite awesome. There's loads of people who love you, who treasure you. And I know that's not easy for people to realize about themselves. And the more you feel that way about yourself, the more people are going to appreciate you and all of that. And Santosha, which is love and accept your reality as it is, your current reality as it is. And I'm not saying you always got to choose to stay there, right? You don't need to choose to stay there at all, but you can accept where you're at. And once you've accepted the gift in the experience, because once you've reached that point of acceptance, right, you are then able to see the gift in the experience. God will never put you in a place or never give you a lesson that there's nothing for you to gain out of that, right? And once you've gained the gift or gained the lesson from that situation, you are then in a position to be able to say, okay, cool, now I've got it, now let's move forward. And then from that place, how do we move forward? And it is what it is. And we begin from there. So that's my story for you guys today. And I hope you've enjoyed it. It really is just amazing ways to live life and amazing ways to go about and to experience life. And once you've understood how beautiful you are, that you are created from God, and all of us, you know, one thing I've learned in my journey as a healer is that we all want the same things, all of us. And we all need the same things to thrive, right? We need love, for sure. We need kindness, for sure. We need compassion, for sure. And we need tenderness, for sure. We all need food in our belly to thrive. We need a roof over our head. We need clothes on our body to keep warm in the cold nights, or blankets, whatever it is, right? Some of you might like to run around in the nude. That's absolutely fine. If that rocks your boat, go for it. But there are going to be times that you need something to cover your body with, right? So when we understand these things about ourselves, it makes it a whole lot easier to understand it about other people as well. So, yay, guys and gals. I don't see any guys in the chat. I only see ladies. Yeah. I want to say thank you so much for joining me today. And I spent time in New Zealand, never went to Australia. A lot of work. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Tabby. Lovely. Okay, it's been really great hanging out with you today. And I hope you've all had a fantastic Christmas. And I look forward to seeing you guys. I'm on with Caleb again tomorrow. Tomorrow we're on Aquarius Rising Africa again. And then on Sunday, we'll be back on Solutions again, this channel, Aquarius Rising, Solutions of Aquarius Rising Africa. Hello, Duke. You're welcome, Gail. Thank you. And for those of you, we're going to be doing a live gathering again with Caleb on Sunday on Zoom. So it was really, really cool, by the way, on Christmas. There was amazing, just must have been about 30 people that joined our gathering. And just it's so nice to see everybody, their faces, and just getting to see your faces and hearing your voices. It makes such a difference as well, to see you guys in the chat, and I can relate to all of that. And yeah, there's just a lot of people at the moment as well, I guess, who have holidays and they don't really have someone special to share it with. So I definitely believe we are, this is our tribe, this is our tribe. This is our online family. And I've no doubt that soon we're going to be gallivanting around the globe, and I'll be meeting a lot of you, I hope, right? And yeah, so join us if you want to join us for the gathering on Sunday again, which will be, what we're going to do is we'll go on to Solutions with Aquarius Rising Africa at 7 p.m., the usual time that I have with Caleb, which is 1900 my time. That's GMT +2. So wherever in the world you are, just work it out according to that. We'll go for an hour, and then what we do is we move over to Zoom. I'll give you guys the Zoom link and the password and everything, and then you can join us there for a live gathering and just, yeah, say hi and how it's going. And yeah, it's so cool to see everybody. Okay, guys and girls, yay! Thank you so much for joining me, and I really, really, really appreciate you all. And I look forward to seeing you very, very soon. Tomorrow with Caleb. Yeah, Friday, in fact, with Kerry Saint again. Leo Zagami is on Friday night, and Catherine Edwards as well on Friday. So Friday's a busy day. Tomorrow with Leo, and Sunday again with Caleb. And then we're into the new year. Wow. I think it's going to be quite a year. A lot of people are predicting a lot of nasty stuff going down this year. I just think, when we stay in love, when we stay in light, when we just connect with each other, it's going to be a great year. Coolness, everybody. God bless you all. And I wish you health, wealth, and loads of abundance of all the wonderful things in life that you desire. See you soon. Bye-bye.